Good morning, everybody. What is going on out there in the land of YouTube? How is everybody? Can you guys hear me okay? Give me a 5x5 if you can hear me all right. Make sure everybody can hear me. Give me a 5x5 if you guys can all hear me. A few things to cover today, and I wanted to do this live for a few different reasons. I wanted to, oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Mikey. I'm sorry to hear you can't upload for a week. SWE, Mikey, good to see you. Good to see you, Greg. Nice to see everybody. Jeff hates pigs. Jeff hates pigs. What is going on? Good morning, everybody. So I'm going to show you guys some stuff today. We're going to talk about a few things. And obviously, the entire country is talking about, Palestine, Ohio right now, where they blew up a bunch of chemicals on purpose, thinking that that would be a good way to deal with the problem of the spilled chemicals. And there's, the fallout of that entire, good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. And I haven't been here for a couple seconds. So a little quick commentary here, just a real quick commentary on yesterday's video of Terry versus Ohio and qualified immunity. I don't want people to think that I don't understand that overturning qualified immunity is an important aspect to making the country a more just and fair place, which if any of you have any sort of autism or on the spectrum of being autistic, then you know as well as I do, the big thing for people who are autistic or on the spectrum of autism is being fair. And so, of course, I do understand the fairness doctrine, I guess you could call it, if you want to call it something fancy. But the truth is that Terry versus Ohio is so much more important than qualified immunity. And I was talking to a friend yesterday, who I want to throw a big thank you to my friend who I spoke to yesterday. And I was telling my friend yesterday that she had an old idea that someone had put in the back of her mind. And you may have heard that idea. I'll give you a real simple example, that I was going to go and become an attorney. And this year has taught me that I don't want to become an attorney. I don't want to do that with my life. I want to change the system. Now, I don't know if you can change the system being an attorney, but you can be an executive of a state. So yesterday, what I saw in the comments, what I read in the comments from different people, from different folks who had things to say, and I appreciate what you guys have to say, but I saw a lot of people who were saying things like, oh, they tried to explain how qualified immunity was as important as Terry versus Ohio, and it's simply not. It is not. They abolished qualified immunity in Colorado. I'm not sure if you guys have noticed the last 6 or 7 viral videos have come out of Colorado. So the on-street interaction is what changes by overturning Terry. That's what happens, is we have to change the way that the police can walk up to us and enter into our lives and start to say, hey, because I'm suspicious of you, you have to get on your knees. Sorry about that. I can also turn this mic down. Let me know about the mic because I'm still learning this bad chicken. Let me see. Does that help if I turn it down like that on the microphone? Does that help if I do it like that? Does that help at all? I'm turning down the how's that for the mic? Give me a 5x5. Oh, is that a little bit better, Jeff? Because I'm just learning this mic and I got my laptop. It's down low. When all my lights and okay, as long as it's okay now, I want to make sure that you guys can hear and make sure that, thank you. I appreciate it, Thomas. Thanks, man. I appreciate you guys. So a lot of the commentary I got back yesterday on a video was how qualified immunity is important, and it is. I've been reading and researching a lot about how and why people change. And so a lot of the tactics that I've used, a lot of the methods that are just natural for me, aren't necessarily the best ways to get people to learn or to change. And it's hindsight's 2020. I can look back when I started this YouTube channel a little over a year ago and say, oh, I could have done this better. I could have done that better. However, just the way that I am, the way that I'm headstrong and I have a lot of information, and the way that I work, I'm literally, I'm a strong man where, I just am. And so a lot of the things that I've done will not bring people to change. So I'm trying to change the way that I present things. However, I can just tell you this. So I go right back to it again, where I'm going to tell you how it is. And I would rather that you learned the information yourself, but that's why I created the trifold and the poster and the ebook, so people would learn on their own. Terry versus Ohio breaks off into a bunch of other laws that are created on the backbone of the idea that reasonable articulable suspicion is something valid. Because who's the person deciding that they're reasonably and can articulate suspicion about you? It's a copper. And as you guys have seen now on 100,000, a million videos, literally millions of videos, the people who are police in our country are dunce caps, or they're ex-jocks, or they were the biggest nerd reject in school. And these folks are not, they're not, we have the wrong ingredients here. And so they're the people who are deciding what they're reasonably, and they're going to articulate their suspicion of you. And that can go as far as, well, you're in a red car, it's night, and it's wet outside. I believe when I was in West Texas and the police came up to me because I was looking for my Airbnb, I was literally on the phone with Airbnb when the cops came up. And they tried to reasonably articulate suspicion to me to get my identification, because I was on a road, driving down a road in the night on a cul-de-sac. And so that was their reasonable articulable suspicion. And if you guys haven't seen the video, I'll pull it up for you. If you haven't seen the video, then you start to go, so you're going to tell me your reasonable articulable suspicion is that I'm on a road at night and I'm in a cul-de-sac and I'm looking for my Airbnb, so that makes me suspicious? And then he tried to say, yes, let me get your ID. At which point I did the same thing I'm doing now. I laughed and said, I hate to tell you this, man, but this is what I do for a living. And so I'm going to educate you now. And the cops were actually pretty cool. The cops who were there at the time, I think a combination of, I don't know why they were cool at the time, but that's the whole point. People were going on and on in the comments. Let's pull it up. Let's take a look at it. Let me show you guys what I'm talking about. I'm going to show you guys exactly what I'm talking about here. I want you guys to see what I'm speaking about so that you understand. And I'm just going to pull up the comments so that you guys can read the comments. Because when I was reading the comments yesterday, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like I didn't come here to take votes. I didn't come here to say, oh, here's what I think, or oh, here's what I think. I didn't come here to do any of those things. I came here to explain what the problems were, and granted, I could have done it better. But at the same time, so let me pull this up real quick, and then we'll have a discussion about some of these comments. And this isn't the whole reason I came on this morning. I actually want to cover the arrest of the reporter in Palestine, in Ohio. Let me pause this real fast and let me share this screen so you guys can see exactly what I'm looking at. How's everybody doing? Do me a favor, hit the like button. If you would, just hit the like button. Good to see everybody. Shock Professor, Archangel for Truth, how are you? How are you? What is going on? What is going on, everybody? How is everybody doing today? Good to see you guys. Pamela Knox is here. Gloria, how are you, hun? Nice to see everybody today. Good to see everybody. So I'm going to show you guys something, and I want to read some of these comments because I want you guys to understand something that, I think that I've proven it. I believe that I've proven it. I think that I've proven that I have dedicated a large portion of my life to researching, reading, and then going and taking on bad actors within the state or policing agencies in our country. And so when I make a video and I say that Terry versus Ohio is far more important than qualified immunity, so how do I say this nice? I mean, so just, I can just give you guys the math. How about I do it that way? Because otherwise I can come off like a real jerk, and I don't want to come off that way. But so yeah, we're going to cover that in a second, Troll Hunter. We're going to cover East Palestine, and I'm going to cover the rest of that reporter. So let's just talk about it. Qualified immunity was created in 1951, and it was created in a case called Tenney versus Brandoff. And in Tenney versus Brandoff, it was based on the Tenney Commission created in 1948. And the Tenney Commission was created after World War II, and the Tenney Commission had a very specific goal, so that they would monitor the people, Americans, and if they did anything un-American, then the Tenney Commission would bring them to justice. And it doesn't matter if the story is 100% correct or it's pretty close. That's pretty much it. So a dispute happens within the commission because they're doing things they shouldn't be doing. Obviously, they're given powers they shouldn't have gotten. And so it goes to court. And then what happens is legislators, the people who were on the Tenney Commission, they were all legislators, they all got immunity. So if a legislator writes a law that's unconstitutional, he has immunity from writing an unconstitutional law. And so then that extended to judges, which is really pathetic. So then you get qualified immunity in the 1967 case of Pearson versus Ray. This is where a racist case happens in 1961, I believe. And it was about the Freedom Riders who were taking a bus. I believe they were going from Detroit through Alabama, down to Alabama. And if the route's a little messed up, it's fine, because that's the crux of the story, is that the Freedom Riders, black Baptist preachers, could have been Protestant preachers, but anyway, a bus full of black preachers decided they would travel through the country on a bus, and they would go to the different bus terminals that said whites only, because as you know, the 1954 case of Brown versus Board of Education desegregated America legally. However, the police in our country, the executioners, the pigs, the scumbags of America, the worst people that you will encounter today are cops. Those people, they continued their racism, and they continued to enforce unjust laws, and they had to get to the court. And then half the time when it got to court, you'd get judges like in Tenney versus Brandoff or Pearson versus Ray that would just expand police powers and don't worry about it because it's only against blacks. And so now we have judges that have immunity, and the worst thing in the country today is worse than cops are judges. And then all the cops have immunity, and legislators have immunity, and prosecutors have immunity. So that's where qualified immunity comes from. Now, the thing is that what it did when you have qualified immunity, so you have immunity that is qualified based on the idea that the police officer doesn't know that he's violating your constitutional rights. So if you can prove that the police officer clearly should have known that you have a First Amendment right to record him, and he takes your camera out of your hands, he's violated your civil liberties, and you can sue him. And then qualified immunity is abolished because he should know that you have a First Amendment right. And so that's how qualified immunity works. Terry versus Ohio allows the cops to walk up to you and say, hey, I'm suspicious of you. And as you know, in the black community, going all the way back to the 60s, as soon as the cop walks up to the black man, or to the white guy now, because they're targeting everybody, and says, I'm suspicious of you, it goes downhill from there really fast. If you've ever seen a cop walk up to me and try that stuff with me, oh man, I destroy them. Literally, I just beat them up. So I want to get into some of these comments here, and I want to read some of these comments. And I just kind of want to, I don't want to embarrass or hurt anybody. But so I pinned the comment on the top that says get rid of both. And I do agree with getting rid of both qualified immunity and Terry versus Ohio. Question, what case strips away your rights when dealing with public safety? Terry versus Ohio. Terry versus Ohio. Class is once again in session. Abolish both. But see, this is a person who can't get rid of the old ideas in their head. We hardly can ever hold cops accountable. You know, definitely. But qualified immunity must go. It's so this person has, so that's what I'm trying to say here. That's what I'm trying to explain to you, the person watching this. You were given a bad idea. And getting rid of qualified immunity is not a bad idea. But I would say emphatically and factually, Terry versus Ohio, Graham versus Connor, Federal Election Commission versus Citizens United, I mean, I can just, there's far more cases that are far more important than qualified immunity. Qualified immunity, in my opinion, isn't in the top 5. So just Kerr versus California, Brinegar versus United States, Terry versus Ohio, Graham versus Connor. I mean, there's just so many. And you have the Carroll Doctrine from 1925 in Carroll versus United States. So those 5 cases are far, far, far more important than qualified immunity. And so what happens is you were given an idea by someone on YouTube or by someone in media, because just so you know, my ideas are not original either. Most ideas are not original. The way you propose the ideas or the concept of your ideas could be original. However, most ideas are not original. And so you heard someone say qualified immunity. Oh, it's because of qualified immunity. And so what do you see now? Because you have an old idea put in the back of your mind that you've had for years, and you've been running around saying qualified immunity for so long because you listen to dunce caps on YouTube who have no education, that don't love our country, that hate our country. And I don't. I love this country, and I want to fight for it, and I want to change it. I want to get rid of this bad system of oppressors in our country. So you were given a bad idea that qualified immunity is the reason why policing is so bad. The reason policing is so bad is because of Terry versus Ohio. How many laws branch off from qualified immunity? 0. 0. 0 laws extend from qualified immunity. 0. How many laws extend from Terry versus Ohio? Well, you got Terry versus Ohio, and then you have Pennsylvania versus Mims that says you have to get out of the car in the name of officer safety. And that is the holding, that you have to get out of the car for officer safety. But the spirit of the law of Pennsylvania versus Mims is that you are armed and presently dangerous. So if you're willing to fight that and willing to go to jail and willing to take it on through the courts, we can overturn Pennsylvania versus Mims before we overturn Terry versus Ohio. If cops are ordering you out of the car for their safety and you got a video camera running and you're like, I'm wearing a pair of shorts and a tank top, bro. There's no gun on me. The car's empty. There's no guns in here. So if he's ordering you out of the car and you're wearing a pair of shorts and a tank top and you have a camera running, you can say, no, I'm willing to go to jail for this. You may be going by bad law because you have to approve. And this is the holding of Terry versus Ohio, that you have to believe the man is armed and presently dangerous. So Terry versus Ohio spins into Pennsylvania versus Mims, where you got to get out of the car for officer safety. It also spins into the 1976 case of South Dakota versus Opperman. And in South Dakota versus Opperman, that says that they can impound your car and then inventory your car. It's not a warrantless search. They're inventorying your car. And that's an extension of Terry versus Ohio. So if your car gets impounded, they can just inventory it. That's an extension of Terry versus Ohio. What else extends from Terry versus Ohio? What's that? You're going to have Arizona versus Johnson from 2009, that the passenger has to get out of the car in the name of officer safety. You have Kerr versus California from 1963. Kerr versus California is the pretext for Terry versus Ohio, that says cops can no-knock raid your house just by tapping on the door first and come running in. We have DUI checkpoints from a 1990 case called Sitz, S-I-T-Z versus Michigan State Police. Sitz versus Michigan State Police, the way they set up DUI checkpoints in America, Nazi checkpoints, it is an extension of Terry versus Ohio. Any cop can walk out on the road, look left and look right and say, I think someone could be drunk driving, and he's suspicious of that. So now they can set up DUI checkpoints. Does qualified immunity create DUI checkpoints in the United States of America? No, it does not. Does qualified immunity make it so you have to get out of the car? Are you safer when you put a 1 in the chat if you are safer if you stay in the car when you're interacting with pigs? Put a 1 in the chat if you are safer by staying in the car when you don't have to deal with pigs. Does qualified immunity create magical detainment? It's a magical detainment space. It doesn't. It simply doesn't. The 1996 case of Wren versus United States, W-H-R-E-N, Wren versus United States, that's a case that says that police can pretextually stop your car. They can look at your car, look at you, and say, this is a high crime area, it's late at night, and it's an old car. And they can pull you over pretextually on their suspicion that maybe you might be doing something wrong. Did qualified immunity make it so cops can pull you over by looking at your car and deciding they're suspicious of you? No, that's not. So you may be listening to old dunce caps who are the original people on YouTube who have no education, none whatsoever, who are literally dumb. Just brave. And you guys know who I'm talking about. The guy's real brave, but he's dumb. He's not a very bright guy. Qualified immunity. It's just not the top thing. It's just not even close. So as I read these comments and I take a look at them, I start to go, what qualified immunity makes the officers not accountable. With qualified immunity gone, just going on and on and on. But standing on a sidewalk with your camera does not come close to reasonable articulable suspicion of a crime. But it does. But it literally does. It does. They can say they're suspicious of anything that they want to say they're suspicious of. They can say anything they want. Qualified. So Terry versus Ohio. But number 2 would be Graham versus Connor. That says cops have to make split-second decisions on the amount of force they're going to use on you. Terry versus Ohio. Number 2 would be Graham versus Connor. And then number 3, there is no internal affairs, but I would, maybe there's a case that I don't know about. We need to go to Terry versus Ohio. Love this channel. Oh, this is just a troll. Someone's trolling. Hilarious. This guy is so condescending. Okay, cool. Well, you have a fake name with a fake profile. It's all good. It's all good. Okay, so Keith is going to explain to me, he understands my reasoning. I'm a constitutional law scholar, but he's going to say, but here's my reasoning. It's okay. Okay. And by the way, Keith, thanks for coming. I'm not hacking you. I'm just saying, maybe Keith really, Keith probably didn't understand that Terry goes into Pennsylvania versus Mims, South Dakota versus Opperman. The way we have DUI checkpoints sits versus Michigan State Police is created by Terry versus Ohio. No-knock raids are the precursor for Terry on Kerr versus California. The AD case of Graham versus Honor, while it's not necessarily an extension of Terry versus Ohio, it is mentioned several times in the oral arguments. The 1996 case of Wren, the 2009 case of Arizona versus Johnson. Keith probably didn't know that because he's not a constitutional law scholar. He listened to a bunch of dunce caps on the internet who said qualified immunity because they don't know better, because they're dumb. I'm sorry. I've sat here and explained to you, not to the original auditors who ran around saying qualified immunity. How many laws does qualified immunity spread into? None. 0. How many laws does Terry versus Ohio spread into? Dozens. You lose all freedom because of Terry. What is the policy of detainment based upon? So the reason why you can be detained is because of what? Because of Terry versus Ohio. So you can be put in torture cuffs upon interaction with a police officer, even though there's no probable cause created, there's no probable cause standard, but he can put you in handcuffs, torture cuffs, because he's suspicious of you. And then once you're in those torture cuffs and they rack your wrists and you get neuropathy, you can sue the police department, but it's not qualified immunity that protects him. It's Terry versus Ohio. And then if you try to sue him, he may get qualified immunity because the policy of Terry allows them to torture cuff you. So what comes first, the chicken or the egg? The torture cuffs come before the qualified immunity. So I'm trying to give this to you guys with, I'm trying to give this to you guys the best I can so that you guys can digest it. Yes, I am currently suing YouTube. Yes, I'm currently in a copyright lawsuit from YouTube. I don't believe that fair use is a fair defense for stealing my videos and then monetizing their channel, putting their Cash App, their PayPal, their Venmo. A lot of these channels wouldn't have any views if they couldn't use my content. You could put a picture of me up and talk, but you can't use my content, and that's why I'm suing YouTube. So but let me keep going down these comments. I want you guys to read a few more of these. Here, look at this one. I was on the qualified stupidity bandwagon myself, but qualified immunity is like the captain of the Titanic worrying about the iceberg by looking at what is above the water, and Terry is everything below the water. Dude, you have got it correct. pin that comment. That is 100% correct. I mean, let's read this comment. This is 100% the truth. So it's just stupidity to say qualified immunity is important over Terry versus Ohio. The real iceberg is under the water, all the laws that are spanned from Terry. How does getting rid of qualified immunity fix anything at all that would happen? At best, it's the cities would just settle more lawsuits and they would raise taxes, or worse, have the police become ticket happy meter maids to raise revenue. If Terry was gone, then the police will need to see you commit a crime or have a person that said you committed a crime before they can interact with you. That is one Mr. Walter Heisenberg. I know it's from Breaking Bad. That is 100. I'm sorry you guys didn't get to see that. So that's what it says. I was on the qualified immunity stupidity bandwagon. If Terry was gone, then the police would have to have probable cause to interact with you. The captain worrying about the iceberg looking above it. Terry is everything below the water. And that's what I'm talking about. That's the damage of Terry versus Ohio. That's the damage. That's quite literally what I'm talking about. And so now there's no point in beating a dead horse here. What's his name? So now I want to show you guys the absolute horror of what Terry versus Ohio actually is. I want to show you the real horror of what this law does. Because so now I was saying earlier, and I clearly have explained how Terry branches off into a dozen more holdings that the foothold of it is all based on officer safety. Graham versus Connor, while not based on officer safety on Terry versus Ohio, it is based on officer safety. Let me say that again. Graham versus Connor, which allows a reasonable officer to determine the appropriate of reasonable force used upon you in a split-second decision. That's what Graham says. A reasonable officer often has to make split-second decisions, and the reasonable officer on the scene will determine the appropriate reasonable force to use on you based on the assumptions in the officer's mind about what you might do or what you have done previously to being here. That is what the Graham holding says. So it's based on the officer safety that if you come walking up, and we're seeing this all over America, remember the guy on the road walked up to the cop, he was bleeding, he needed help, and the cop shot him in the head? You guys remember that? He perceived that man was coming to attack him because he had blood on him, so he shot him in the head. Cop got off. No punishment for the cop. None. That was because of Graham versus Connor. Graham versus Connor is not qualified immunity. So Graham versus Connor is a little bit more important than qualified immunity. But I can't help. I said to someone in the chat, I can't help you if you won't learn. If you don't understand that Pennsylvania versus Mims, the reason you got to get out of your car is because of Terry versus Ohio, then you don't understand that is the on-street interaction. I can't help you. I can't help you. So now what are the policies of Terry versus Ohio? So the policy of Terry is supposed to be that the cops can lightly pat down the front of your shirt to make sure that you don't have a weapon, lightly pat you down. That is what Terry says in the name of officer safety. Now, I'm going to show you a video here and show you what the police have created around Terry versus Ohio. Hilarious. Hilarious. I'm on a live right now. I can't talk. Join me on my live stream. So the police created policies and procedures. It's called policy and practice. If you've never heard that term before, that's a legal term. The policy and practice of this police department is to do this. So when you sue them, you want punitive damages or punishing damages, punitive, because they have it's policy and practice. So the Terry versus Ohio policy and practice is you will enter into a POW style of arrest because they created policies around Terry versus Ohio. How dangerous are those policies? Well, let me show you. They have brainwashed these drone dunce cap pigs to just follow this tyrannical procedure and practice of literally torturing you upon detainment. Detainment now means torture. It starts with the torture cuffs, but that's not all of it. Let me show you what they do to this. Now, what do we know about this reporter? We know he doesn't have a gun in his back pocket. We know he's not going to stab the cop in the back of the neck. If the cop walked up to him and said, "I'm sorry, sir, but you're under arrest. You have to come with me," that's a reporter. He's just going to go. They tell him to leave. He just leaves. But the policy and practice of Terry, the way they train these drone dunce cap pigs, the way they train them is that they have to follow the policy and practice of whatever that police department has enacted under the Terry policy of officer safety being more important than your rights, than your skin, than your life, more important than your happiness, more important than you being free. Terry versus Ohio. Terry versus Ohio makes it so that the copper can do anything he wants to you under the of officer safety. It's literally under the guise of officer safety. So now they've created all these policies and procedures and practices that they're going to do to you when they're going to arrest you or detain you. And you get to see it in this Ohio video. You get to see that they're going to make sure that reporter, he's going to get on his belly. They're going to treat him like a dog. They're going to treat him like a dog. Worse than, because let me just say it, Charlie, I would never treat Charlie that way. I would never treat my dog how they treat this reporter. So let's take a look at a couple minutes of this.
Battery 60%. Connect to and
How about now? How about now? Can you guys hear me now? No audio. Do we have any audio? Give me a 5x5 and do if we have a audio here. Okay, so we have audio. Cool. Great. Now let's pray to God I can get this damn thing to work on the stereo part.
Connected to Chille coded 70 and iPhone 9.
Okay. Are we up and going again? Okay, guys. Okay. You know, it just so you know, and I tell DLZ Clips this all the time. I say it all the time that no matter what we do, it's never going to be smooth. It's never going to go.
You see a female trooper walk behind.
Okay, cool. Now we get to the point. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys staying with me through this little snafu we had here. So someone just texted me and said, can you explain how the number one problem facing the entire world is Terry versus Ohio? The number one problem facing our world is Terry versus Ohio. When you got a bunch of dunce cap pigs running around here saying, I'm reasonably suspicious of you, that's the biggest problem facing us. And the black community will be the first ones to say, yes, I agree with him. Why do you think we blew up on TikTok? The black community is there and they agree 100%. They agree. It's been horrible. It's the number one problem in the United States of America is calling a cop psychic. He's predicting that you're about to commit a crime. So I want you guys to see this, but I want you to understand that they're going to treat this man to the Terry policies, Okay, right there. Look how they're treating this man. Look at what they're doing. You're under arrest, and so that means they got to grab you and attack you. They're detaining him, but it gets worse.
Tonight, new body cam footage of the controversial arrest of a News Nation reporter at a press conference held by Ohio's governor, an arrest denounced by the governor himself. Correspondent Evan Lambert says he was just doing his job while giving a live report during Governor Mike DeWine's news conference.
And when that live report ended, law enforcement told Lambert to leave, then forcibly removed him and arrested him. KTLA's John Fenolio joins us live with a closer look at the just released body cam footage. John.
Sure, Michael, we are getting a much clearer picture of how this arrest unfolded. As we've been reporting, News Nation reporter Evan Lambert was covering a train derailment and updates from Ohio's governor yesterday. Lambert was reporting live during a press conference, which clearly bothered local police and at least one member of Ohio's National Guard.
I'm going to listen. I don't think you're going to walk out the door. I'm going to listen. You're going to walk out the door.
Tonight, new police body cam video shows the moments leading up to the arrest of News Nation.
You could tell him that I'm not moving my feet. And if we got to go, then we got to go.
Reporter Evan Lambert.
I am doing my job. This is covered by the First Amendment.
Lambert was arrested Wednesday.
Okay, right there. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm saying. So my friend who just texted me and said, hey, can you tell me why Terry versus Ohio is the number one problem facing our world? My brother, you're looking at it. A news reporter who does not have a gun or a knife, who is not going to attack police, who is not there to assassinate the governor. He is not there to drop a bomb. He is not there to bring an attack dog. He is not there to poison anybody. He's there to listen and report on what he hears. Here is the Terry policy. You will go onto the ground on your belly. And I don't think this is the raw body cam that I heard yesterday. Obviously, we were 35 minutes late to this because they're messing with I don't want to get into it. But so that's Dr. Hamzi is in here. Dr. Hamzi lays out the 5 cases that are the most important cases in America. Terry versus Ohio, Graham versus Connor, Carroll versus United States, Brinegar versus United States, and Kerr versus California. Those 5 cases are the 5 most important cases that you and I as citizens are faced with the most. Number 6 being Federal Election Commission versus Citizens United, so that our votes can matter. And soon we're going to be on the blockchain and these pieces of garbage aren't going to be able to cheat us. But it's coming. It is definitely coming. Okay? It's coming. So So just so you guys know, I have this app called Tube Buddy. Every day, about 10 videos a day are made about me every single day. And sometimes there's 20 or 30 videos made about me. There was sometime this week, there was only 2 videos made about me one day. And I was like, that's amazing. And what am I trying to do? What am I actually doing? I'm showing you guys the problem. I was talking to DLZ Clips earlier today. It's a sad conversation, but we had the conversation. And I said to DLZ Clips, I said, you know, maybe people won't appreciate my work until I'm gone. I'm literally showing the peasants, me, the peasant, you, we are peasants in the king's castle. We're just these peasants over here. We're the power when we unite together properly. But Republicans and Democrats are the same. They're exactly the same. So I'm trying to show you guys the cases, and Dr. Hamzi just put them in here that would make it so you and I are free again. Wicker versus Filburn, 1942, 1943, where we could actually produce the things we wanted to on our property. That would be amazing. We overturned Wicker versus Filburn. So now let me go back to this because I get a little distracted. I got my OCD and so that's a Terry policy. You laying on your belly. Let's listen to a little more of it and see if he says lay on your belly. You can hear it in the one I heard yesterday.
While covering a press conference in East Palestine, Ohio, where News Nation reporter Evan Lambert.
I am doing my job. This is covered by the First Amendment.
Lambert was arrested Wednesday while covering.
Look, he has to be treated that way. And look at the beta male on top of him. Look at that 110-pound dude. He doesn't even know how to grab a dude. Look at that little weenie. And some woman on top of him. Look at her sticking her knees on, sticking her weight on him. What a tyrant.
Covering a press conference in East Palestine, Ohio, where Governor Mike DeWine was giving an update on evacuation orders following a train derailment and the release of hazardous chemicals.
The derailment unfolded originally on Friday night.
The governor was set to speak at 3 p.m. in a gymnasium. He didn't arrive until 5 p.m. At the same time, Lambert was at the back of the room delivering his live report. Shortly after DeWine began speaking, local law enforcement tells Lambert to be quiet. He appears to comply live.
I mean, you know, and let's not forget that he's half black. Let's just not forget that.
On air.
We're actually being told right now that we need to stop broadcasting because this news conference is behind us and we're in the command center. So as we all listen back there and I listen here, you'll learn the latest. Nicole?
Seconds before, the body cam footage shows a man appearing to be Ohio's National Guard Commander, Adjunct General John C. Harris.
So John C. Harris is a tyrant. He should be fired.
Arguing with the cameraman as Lambert is wrapping up his report. On the left of your screen, you see a female trooper walk behind the cameraman and
look at her telling him to cut off his press.
Signal for Lambert to stop talking. Lambert stops and turns towards Harris, who then shoves Lambert.
He pushes him.
The body cam audio kicks in at this point. The female trooper steps between the two men as more police move in and attempt to kick Lambert out of the room.
I am allowed to be here.
Look at all the tyrants stacking up to make sure he can't be heard. And here, the irony of it is, it says, be responsible, written on the wall right above him.
Lambert tells the officers he intends to stay. That's when they pull him out of the room and tackle him to the ground. News Nation obtained the body cam video from the Ohio State Highway Patrol. Law enforcement agencies issued statements Thursday claiming Lambert was disruptive, ignored requests to leave, and resisted arrest. Harris told police in a statement obtained by...
You see how they're trying to kick the cameras out? Do you see that? You see how they're trying to get...
Ignored requests to leave and resisted arrest.
Shutting the cam... Shutting...
Told police in a statement obtained by News Nation. He told Lambert to stop his live shot. That Lambert became enraged, adding...
That Lambert became enraged? He was literally having to defend himself from the guy in the National Guard.
Was, quote, convinced he was prepared to do harm to me. Police accused... enraged, adding he was, quote, convinced he was prepared...
Wow. Wow. They will do absolutely anything to strip us of our constitutional rights. Not just our constitutional rights, we have a God-given right. And people give me a lot of crap and who are atheists and say this and that. Listen, I'm not some overtly religious person at all whatsoever. I don't have a bunch of angels and demons and all these things. None of that stuff. None of it. Matter of fact, I was a hardcore atheist for 21 years of my life. I found God. God found me. That doesn't make me some overtly religious person. What that means is that I understand, I believe there's a higher power. I'm not Christian. I'm not Catholic. I'm not Muslim. I'm not Protestant. I'm not Buddhist. I'm not Hindi. I'm just saying we have a higher creator. Call it your mother. I don't care what you call it. And that higher creator, when you're born, you have the right to speak. Oh, thank you, Formal Fanatic. I didn't see it. So let's keep going on this because I'm sure people want to see the rest of this video.
Prepared to do harm to me. Police accuse Lambert of disorderly conduct and criminal trespassing.
Criminally trespassing by being a reporter.
KTLA legal analyst Allison Treasel says those charges may not hold up in court.
If in fact, when asked to stop, the reporter did stop reporting, then no, the police could not ask him to leave.
Okay, I don't give a damn what she just said. I don't care what the legal analysis from KTLA just said. That woman is a fucking dunce cap. You can record anytime you want. It is freedom given to you by God, by your creator. You are born with an inalienable right to turn and film and report on what you see. You are born press. You are born a press reporter because you are born with a mouth and the freedom to use it, and you have the freedom to record and write anything you choose. That KTLA analysis woman was wrong. I don't have to stop recording because government tells me to. The reason I record is because government is, I'm frothing at the mouth. How can a legal expert come on and say such stupid bullshit? That was the stupidest analysis I've ever seen in my life. If he stopped recording when they told him to, no chick. If you guys ever heard me scream, "Get away from me, lady," or that chick, it's because I don't want to call her up. That's why. That's why I use the word chick instead of using the word, because that's what I want to call her. That's what I want to call her. So I saw some comments. I'm not religious. I pray to my God. I believe there's a higher power for me. I hope. But I'm not some overtly religious person. I definitely believe in God. If you took the experiences I did, you'd believe in God too. But let's keep going. And look, let's listen to this dunce cap. Let's listen to this dunce cap once more time. Let's listen to her one more time and understand that what she's saying right here is wrong, is completely incorrect.
Legal analyst Allison Treasel says those charges may not hold up in
Allison Treasel, I'd like to get a hold of you, Allison. It's
court.
If in fact, when asked to stop,
there's her name, Allison Treasel, TRIESSL. Someone get a hold of her. I'd like to ask her a couple questions. Maybe she can educate me because I from what I understand, the idea of press is that you record the government when they don't want you to.
Reporter did stop reporting, then no, the police could not ask him to leave.
So why is she saying that? Because she's so used, she works for KTLA. She is so used to taking whatever the cops tell her and reporting that. And if they tell her to turn the camera off, they turn it off so that they can come back on the scene later. Because as you guys have seen time and time again in America, that they'll let these reporters on, but not these, because of people like Allison who believe, well, if I stop recording when they tell me to, no, honey bunny, you don't have to stop recording when they tell you to. You have a freedom that is first given by God and recognized by this Constitution. You don't have to stop recording when they tell you to. That's not how it works. That's not freedom. That's not freedom. If you have to stop recording when they tell you to, then you're not the free press. You are the imprisoned press. You are not free press if you have to stop recording when they tell you to. I'm frothing at the mouth. I'm so fucking pissed. Like, what are you talking about, bitch? What are you talking about? You're telling people that shit? What are you talking about? You ignorant toad. I don't have to stop recording when they tell me to.
KTLA legal analyst Allison Treasel says those charges may not hold up in court.
If in fact, when asked to stop, the reporter did stop
No!
recording, then no, the police.
No, you're wrong!
Asked him to leave. He had an absolute right to be there. He had a right to cover the governor's story. He was in a public place, and so
Stupid
they had no
fucking
right.
bitch. You're
There's
lying
no
to people.
question that the charges against him
Stop lying!
will be dismissed.
News Nation is KTLA's cable network broadcast partner. The network saying in a statement tonight that it stands behind Lambert. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine also appearing on News Nation earlier today saying, quote, the reporter had every right to broadcast. DeWine says he doesn't want to see Lambert prosecuted, but stopped short of
saying I'm going to pardon him for the bullshit prosecution. That's what they stopped short of saying. I want to see the raw body cam footage. Oh, thank God. Oh, thank you. Thank you, masters, overlords. Thank you so much for releasing the video that we pay for to hold you accountable. Thank you so much for allowing us to see the video. And this is the whole thing with the Fraternal Order of Police. They have funded candidates all over the country, city, state, federal, to go into power and to submit the legislation that the Fraternal Order of Police write, that now the Ohio State Police is releasing body cam footage to us. No, bunch of chumps. That's our body cam footage. It should be released the moment it is shot. And not by you. You shouldn't get access to it because they're changing it. Do you guys know that Press with Rancor, they changed his audio? Press with Rancor, we have more to talk about with him, but I want you guys to watch the rest of this. The audio will kick on in a second. Remember, they said it takes a few minutes. So right here, it looks like they go over, he's talking, he's giving his report, and so they've pulled him to the side here to tell him that he's talking too loud while the governor is giving the speech. And so they pulled him over to the side. Oh, she's used to just doing whatever she's told by law enforcement. So he's reporting, and he's reporting right now. The light's still on him. He's still talking to the camera, but the pigs have all colluded around him. And that piece of shit guy look at him pointing his finger, the guy from the National Guard. Just because you wear fatigues and you join the National Guard, buddy, you don't have a right to be look at him. Look at this guy. So let me go back. I want you guys to see that the guy from the National Guard attacks. Watch. First he points at his face, and then he just pushed him right there. He's first going to point to his face, and then he's going to shove him. He just shoved him. Now Evan's telling him he has a right to be there. So now Evan is saying he wants to file charges. Those pigs saw the National Guard guy push him. Pig witnessed it. He should have been put in torture cuffs immediately, just like they would to me if I pushed somebody. Look at this woman pushing this man. Look at her.
I am allowed to be here.
Look at her grabbing him. Oh my God.
Now, or you can go to jail. You want to go to jail for criminal trespassing? You want to go to jail for criminal trespassing? You understand how quickly our lawyers will get me out? I don't care. I don't care. Let's talk outside. Let's talk outside. Out the door by other media right now. I'm going to listen. I don't think you're going to walk out the door. I'm going to listen. You're going to walk out the door. Come on outside.
So it's an ego contest. This pig wants to tell him to get out. And he's telling him, no, I have a right to be here. And the pig's violating his rights.
You're going to walk out the door or you're going to jail. Do not touch me. Sir, can we talk outside, please? I'm trying to listen. And he escalated with me. I am doing my job. This is covered by the First Amendment. Excuse me, sir.
Excuse me, sir. I'm the building supervisor here. We've held a public event for the public. We have the elected leader of this state here giving a speech to the public. We've invited the press to this event, but I'm the building manager and you need to leave because the pigs are saying that you need to leave. Now, the reason I showed this is to show you the Terry policies that affect all of us. And these dunce cap pigs are now enforcing the policy of a POW style of arrest on a reporter. And that's America. That's America in a nutshell. I want you guys to keep watching this. Watch the Terry style POW arrest.
You're going to stand outside. Or you're going to jail. Let's go. Let's go. Come on.
Look at that beta male trying to twist his wrist like they teach him in that stupid police academy. Look at him trying to twist his wrist. If you punk ass bitch tried to do that to me, just let me chime in here real fast. If you punk ass little bitch tried to twist my wrist like that and you weren't protected by the color of law, anybody who's ever been in a real fight, you're not going to twist my wrist like this and take control over me. You may have seen it in a movie. It's just not real life. You have to be willing to be thrown on the ground. You have to be willing to go with that wrist lock. Oh, I'm just going to go with it so I'm not resisting. But if you resist your wrist being twisted like this, then you're resisting arrest. If you don't allow him to contort your wrist like this, well, then you are resisting arrest. You shouldn't resist it. Why are you resisting this? You're resisting arrest. Why are you resisting this? Because my wrist doesn't bend like that, asshole. My wrist doesn't bend like that. That's why I'm resisting this. And if you try to do that to me, you punk ass, pathetic. Stop resisting. Stop resisting us beating on you and hurting you. Stop resisting us twisting your limbs. Stop resisting that. Lay flat on your belly. Listen to the words. This is a Terry stop. Listen.
You guys, he's a national correspondent. You cannot do this.
I'm a reporter with News Nation. It's all being recorded right now.
Lay flat on your belly as a reporter in America. Lay flat on your belly. Oh, but he's a big reporter. He's a national correspondent. Let me ask you a question. Do you think, I think that more people watch this channel than his channel. I think more people watch a lot of people on YouTube more than a national correspondent. He's a national correspondent. What a load of shit. Really, sorry for that.
Excessive work because we can't talk to people about doing their jobs.
Oh my God, I cannot believe this. This is.
And look at all the cops standing there looking at him. They're all looking at a man on the ground in torture cuffs.
This is what it's like to be a black reporter.
Evan, I'm so sorry. Evan, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Sia.
Hello, sir.
Can you please loosen this?
Oh, did you guys hear that? Did you guys hear that? Did you hear it? If you listen to every single pig video, you will almost always hear the person say, can you loosen these a little bit? They hurt. Evan, that's the beginning of your torture. That's the beginning, because now they're going to mentally torture you. They're going to come up and go, oh, look, I can get a finger in there so they're not too tight. See here, I can get a finger in. I can get a finger in right over here so they're not too tight. Not that your wrists are not being pinched here. Your wrists are being destroyed here. But they can get a finger in right here. You're not getting hurt right here, Evan. They're not too tight. What are you crying about? Why are you complaining? They're not supposed to be comfortable. They aren't meant for pleasure. Would you rather they were made out of rubber? You heard him say it.
Can you please loosen this?
That's a little tight. He says it the first time, and then he says it louder.
Can you please loosen this?
So the first time he said it quietly, you can hear it. That's a little tight.
Can you please loosen this? Because it hurts. That one is a little tight. So
Oh my God.
He's literally telling them, you're hurting me. He says a little too tight. Now it's tight. Now he's tight. And they're saying we will, which is the common thing, because once you're in enough pain for long enough, you lose, you get disoriented, but they don't care. They want you to be in pain.
thank you very much.
This is horrible. Evan, I'm sorry. Oh my God. Horrible.
Okay, give me one out here.
Incredible.
I did, sir. You want to shut off? No, you can keep recording. We just need to make sure that.
You gotta be effing kidding me. You gotta be effing kidding me.
You got the record all that. I did, sir. You want to shut off? No, you.
I did, sir. Do you want me to shut it off? If this happens to me and you're with me, don't let them take me. It's time we resist. You don't have to allow them to drag your friends and reporters off to the dungeon. Don't let them just drag me away. That. Do not let them just drag me off to a dungeon. No way. I'm there reporting for you. Don't let them do this to me. Don't allow this to happen to me. It's disgusting.
No, you can keep recording. We just need to make sure that no one else comes in here that's not authorized to come in here.
You can keep recording. Well, thank you, you bottom-dwelling, low-level loser, dragon dunce-ass pig. Thanks so much for allowing me to have my rights. He's, just so you know, he's supposed to uphold his rights. He should have been pulling Evan off the floor.
I'm posted at the end of the gym there. Yeah. Like for folks coming in? Yeah. Okay. Just stay here for right now. Okay. You'll have your security. Yes, sir. Yep, thank you.
What's that?
Are you coming in for?
Yeah, press, I'm live right now on TikTok as covered by Governor.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I mean, look at who are these pigs? Who are you, pig? Who are you? You don't belong there.
Come on. Okay. No worries.
Did you see what he just said?
Come on. Okay. No worries.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Did he just warn the other guy that he had a body camera on? We have body cams so we can hold them accountable. He just warned the other pig, I'm on. The entire idea of body cams is so that we can see, so we can hold them accountable, not so they can say, I'm hot, I'm hot. I mean, what?
I'm going with that. Okay.
I'm not sure what's going on here. Hold on. Let's see where this takes us. Their sound died, not mine, just so you know. It's not my sound that died. I don't know why there's no sound. I think he turned his sound off. He turned his sound off. He turned his sound off so he could have a discussion with the, is that the same building? Is that the building manager? I don't think it is. I hope they sue the shit out of these pigs and the state of Ohio. I hope they sue the county. I hope they sue everybody. Horrible. Oh, is that right, John? Is there a video of them high-fiving? High-fiving as they arrest reporters? I didn't know that existed. Exactly. They should be fired. They should not have control of the body cam footage, period. We can see. Look, there's no audio. We can see that pigs should not get the body cam footage. They should not even get access to it. It should be a 360 recorder that goes to a
or disrespect. We've been waiting for, we were up there, we had a live shot scheduled to record at 5:15. That's locked in stone. So, coincidence of all coincidence, the governor literally walks out at 5:15. It's the worst possible timing in the world, okay? But there's nothing that we can do about that. He's committed to doing his live shot. He's got people talking to him. He doesn't know whether he needs to talk about.
Let me stop you.
Yeah, but
let me stop you. The reason why, I understand that. The reason why he is where he is, he was told to leave. He refused to leave.
Okay.
Then the building superintendent comes over and says, I don't want you here.
Okay.
He still refused to leave.
I didn't.
So now he's arrested.
I didn't.
All he had to do was
listen to this pig. Listen to this pig. Listen to him. He's talking to the producer for Evan. Listen.
Please, let me stop you. I'm the reason why, I understand that.
So look at how submissive the reporter is. We are not the same.
Needs to talk about.
So he's going to come in, and what does he do right here? What does he do? It's on your trifold. Let me talk. He says, here's the deal. I'm going to lay this out for you. Look at how this pig is so entitled. Let me talk right now. And the reporter, the producer, is just trying to be beta so that he can get into the next press conference. Because if you don't suck the cops off, well, then they'll make sure you can't get into the next press conference, limiting your First Amendment right. It's unbelievable what we're dealing with in this country.
Let me stop you.
Yeah.
Let me stop you. Up, let me stop you. He says, let me stop you. And then up, let me stop you.
I'm the reason why, I understand that.
Oh, the reason why I understand that. No, you don't understand. You're a jackboot thug pig. You don't understand a damn thing.
The reason why he is where he
is because of you. You're the reason, because he's a free man acting as the press. He is not your subjugate. He's not under your dominion. And until we fight back against these pigs, it's going to remain the same. Don't let them take me. If you're there, don't let them take me. I'm not going with you.
He was told to leave. He refused to leave.
He was told he's staying because he's doing his job.
Then the building superintendent comes over and says,
the building superintendent was holding a public event with public officials for the public press. So this cop is a total dunce cap.
I don't want you here.
Oh, he said, I don't want you here. I don't care if you don't want me here. You could take your want and go shove it up where the sun don't shine.
He still refused.
Yes, of course he refused to leave, as he should have. You have a right to be there.
So now he's arrested.
So now he's arrested for invoking his rights. I pray to God he's listed in the civil rights lawsuit. That piece of shit pig right there.
That's his own fault he's arrested.
No, it's your fault. It's your fault, piggy. And I pray to God you get demoted, you lose your job. I hope worse for you, bro. I can't say it out loud. I said it out loud one time about how I feel about the trolls, and they just repeat it. But that's how I feel. If you're not here, I don't care. You don't want to work together? Then get the fuck out. I don't care. I don't care. You're just part of the problem. One less of you makes the world a better place, as far as I'm concerned.
All he had to do was play along.
I didn't.
All he had to do was break himself and not. All he had to do was be willing to be a subjugate, be willing to lose his rights. That's all he had to do.
He just kept on arguing.
Of course, he kept on arguing, as he should have, because his rights were being violated. Of course, he should have kept arguing.
From the television standpoint,
I understand what you're trying.
No, he doesn't understand it. He doesn't understand that our right to be press is more important than you. You are not as important as the press. Your life is not important as the press. I understand, he says. You don't. You don't. And he won't understand unless this news organization sues his ass.
When he's told to leave.
Oh, I understand he has rights, but if we want to take away those rights, we can. I understand he has rights and he was using his rights, but if we pigs decide we can take your rights, we can just do it. And if you don't comply, then you're going to go to a dungeon. And by the way, you pigs, you're not putting me on the ground like that. You need a few of you. I'm not putting my arms behind my back ever again. You want to arrest me? If I've done something wrong, I'll walk. You're not torturing me. And if you're going to torture me, you're going to have to kill me. And last I checked, I'm strong as a bull. So it's going to take a few of you guys. And then you're going to have to hurt me, and it's going to be on camera. All because I don't want to be tortured to go to the dungeon first.
By law enforcement?
I can't speak to that. That's me.
Look at this piece of shit pig. Look at this piece of shit pig. Look at him. Look at his actions. Let me show you. Watch this man right here. Watch how he doesn't understand that I hope he goes to hell. Watch his mannerisms for 10 seconds.
I understand what you're trying to do. I understand you guys have jobs to do. But when he's told to leave by law enforcement,
I can't speak to that. That's what I just.
Oh my God. Oh my God. When he's told to leave, I understand he has rights, but when he's told to leave by law enforcement, that's an issue.
I understand you guys have jobs to do.
I understand you have a First Amendment right to be there.
When he's told to leave by law enforcement,
I can't speak to that. That's what I just.
Wow. There it is in a nutshell, folks. There it is in a nutshell. When he's told, I understand he has the right to be there, but when he's told by law enforcement to leave, that's an issue. No, it's not. What the issue is when we all get our gun rights back, you're done. You're done. When we actually create constitutional cities and we kick the pigs out, you're done, dude. We are this close. I guarantee you by 2030, there are constitutional cities created in America that bans government. I guarantee it. I would bet my life on it. We are heading to constitutional cities that ban jackboot thugs, pigs like this guy. Guarantee it. I guarantee it. It's coming because you know what? The reason why, and I've thought about this long and hard since we had that talk about 2 weeks ago. The reason why they want to strip our gun rights, you can't carry, you can't conceal, is because they know if we were all carrying guns, this jackboot thug pig would have been put in his place, as he should have been. As he should have been put in his place. I'm not talking about killing and death. I'm talking about the simple undertone of the threat of violence. And Jordan Peterson talks about this in great detail. When two women go back and forth, there's not the underlying threat of violence. But when two men are going back and forth, there is the underlying threat of violence. Well, in a society where every one of us is armed, this pig would have had to back down because the underlying threat of violence could escalate. And when he's violating reporters' rights, it could escalate into something gigantic. This pig would be shouted down if we had our actual gun rights in America.
I thought I might just be able to.
Just watch it one more time.
you guys have jobs to do. But when he's told to leave by law enforcement,
I can't speak to that. That's me.
Look how this pig tries to take. He has all the power, and if you don't do what he says, your rights are unimportant.
But I thought I might just be able to give you some insight on
I understand.
from my
No, I understand you guys have a job to do. I get it. it's just,
No, you don't get it, pig.
I get it, but when you're told to step out and it even gets to the point where the building superintendent's coming over and saying,
Oh, shut the fuck up, Bo. Shut up, dude. The building superintendent didn't come in. He went running over to Copsuck. He wasn't there.
"We need to leave."
Wow, look at the bullshit this pig spews.
You guys haven't gone through. I get it.
He doesn't get it.
I get it, but when you're told to step out and it even gets to the point where the building superintendent's coming over and saying, "You need to leave."
I understand. So, that's why I tell me where he is, please.
He'll end up at the Columbia
County Jail.
Yes, okay.
Oh, that's where this is?
Sheriff, I'm Preston Swigert. Thank you, Sheriff.
And then he shakes his hand. Let's watch that again. Did this reporter shake the pig's hand? I'm not sure if you guys have noticed. I'm not sure if you guys have noticed. Let me just point it out for you in case you guys have not noticed. I don't shake pigs' hands. I've shaken a few hands, and over time, I was like, why am I shaking this pig's hand? I no longer shake pigs' hands. You could go back to like May, last time I shook a pig's hand. I'll give him a knuckle, but I'm not shaking it. The last pigs I shook their hand was in Oklahoma when the cop put himself in torture cuffs. I don't shake these pigs' hands. That's not how it works, especially after they arrest my colleagues. Wow. Wow. Wow.
Because he's a national correspondent.
Criminal trespass.
Just get to it. Let me see.
The KTLA News Center with more. John.
Well, sure, Mike, and this arrest has surprised a lot of people, including Ohio Governor Mike DeWine. News Nation reporter Evan Lambert was covering a train derailment and subsequent evacuation orders due to the release of hazardous chemicals. But he was pinned to the ground and arrested before he could finish his reporting.
On all of that, we'll check back in with you.
It started as a fairly...
I saw this. I want to see him get out of jail.
Moments later, police reportedly...
We saw that.
Then
look how they're treating him.
One of the officers pulls on Lambert's arm to forcibly remove him. A struggle appears to...
Of course, and by the way, of course it's a woman cop, right? Because women are equal, right? Women are equal to us. They're not. Men are not equal. Women are not equal. We are not all equal. I'm sorry. All men are created equal. Yes, your life is equal to mine. My life is equal to yours. Your existence is equal to mine. My existence is equal to yours. We are not all equal. Women should not be in this role. Sorry if you don't like it. We shouldn't have women cops. They shouldn't be cops at all, whatsoever, period, because she should not be able to put her hands on me. She should only use a camera. A woman coming in and getting physical, just imagine for a moment if I decided to haul off. Just imagine. She's not equipped. She shouldn't be there. If people don't like it, I don't care. I think our country's ruined by feminism. Ruined. There are women who are better executives than me, better at business than me. There are women who are better wrestlers than me. Adeline Gray could kick my butt. I don't believe in feminism. It's ruined our country. Women should not be cops. We should not have any women cops at all whatsoever. If you don't like it, I don't care. We shouldn't have women firefighters either. Don't like it. I'm tired of it. I don't like that our birth rate has staggered. If you guys haven't seen a video called The World According to Zihan, The World According to Zihan, let me just put it in here for you. I'm not a feminist. I'm against it 100%. 100%. We've ruined our country. And now we got Nikki Haley running for president. She wants to go to war. I put it in the chat, The World According to Zihan. If you haven't watched this guy's videos, you should watch them. Since we've put women in the workplace, since 1945, since that when the women left, I'm going off on a tangent here. It's the point though. The point is that we've ruined our system because we're all equal. We're not. We're not all equal. That woman would never touch that man without a badge and a gun on and without 10 other people to back her up. And I don't like it. Don't get physical with a man. It's just so wrong. It's just so wrong. It's completely wrong. But yet she grabs that man.
To ensue, and police tackle Lambert.
Look at this. Do you think she could ever do that? Do you think that little beta male on top of him could ever do that?
to the ground and put him in handcuffs.
This is horrible.
Cameras rolling as Lambert is escorted to a patrol car, accused of disorderly conduct and criminal trespassing. Governor DeWine apologizing for the rough arrest a short time later.
I'm certainly very, very sorry
Oh, and I'm going to pardon him immediately. Did you say that?
that happened. I don't know all the facts, but
I'm sorry that happened. Who elected this guy? He wasn't elected. This is another rich guy's son. This is another, we just keep on putting the richest son or daughter or the richest dad or the richest this person in power. We just keep putting the person with the most money who can get the most money collected. And we keep putting guys like this in power. Look at this little toad. Look at him. You think this guy should be in charge? I don't. He's the richest guy, and that's all there is. The richest guy.
he or she, whoever was arrested, had every right to be reporting and do what they do every single day.
These things really should never happen. Nikki Osterreicher is the general counsel for the National Press Photographers Association. Do you think this was a violation of First Amendment rights?
Absolutely. The First Amendment is not absolute. It's subject to what's known as reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions. It appeared to me that he complied. The situation was over with. They should have just left it at that.
Lambert was released from jail shortly after 10 p.m. local time Wednesday.
No journalist expects to be arrested when you're doing your job. And I think that's really important that doesn't happen in our country. It obviously happens more often, more frequently.
Look at that.
In other countries that don't have the freedoms.
Look. So remember, I just said, I made a comment. I made a comment that a woman should not be in charge of the physicality of a man. Let me show you the reason why I said that. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a bunch of beta male cucks who act just like this one, none more than Evan McKnight in Ironton, Ohio, who tried to force my arm. And I said, nah, brah, not a chance. Didn't have a chance. Little beta male bitch had zero chance of controlling my physical motion. But watch how this woman behaves. Watch how she behaves. Look at her actions compared to what the other guy is doing. Just take a look, because she has to prove her worth because she's a woman. She has to prove that she can physically manhandle him. So watch how she treats him.
And I think that's really important that doesn't happen in our country. It obviously happens more often, more frequently in other countries that don't have the freedoms that we do.
News Nation is KTLA's network broadcast partner. Lambert did not disclose.
Look,
in other countries.
Look, his arm doesn't fold that way. Take a look.
That doesn't happen in our country. It obviously happens more.
Look, his arm does not bend how she's trying to bend it. His shoulders are burly. It doesn't work. She forces it.
More often, more frequently.
Look, she's pushing. She has to push her foot. See her foot over here? See her body weight? She has to torque her.
That doesn't happen in our country. It obviously happens more often, more frequently in other countries that don't have the freedoms that we do.
Just disgusting. Just disgusting. Just disgusting. Just disgusting. Look, what you're seeing right now on the screen right here. That's a Terry policy. The police created a policy around officer safety that you need to lay on your belly for them to feel safe, for them to feel like they're safe. The policy of Terry versus Ohio is for officer safety. You will enter into a POW style of arrest. That's what that is right there. That's why he's on his belly right there. Remember, they were dragging him to the ground. Why? Why would you drag someone to the ground? Oh, so we can be on top of him.
News Nation is KTLA's network broadcast partner. Lambert did not disclose specific details about his arrest, citing the pending charges against him. As for that train derailment, no injuries have been reported. However, some local residents have complained of smelling chlorine and having headaches. The incident has sparked new concerns about transporting dangerous chemicals. Share, Micah, back to you.
John, thank you.
Charlie, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about that, Charlie? How do you feel? How do you feel, Charlie? Yeah, I can't stand it. You know, I think the first step for all of us is we have to get rid of all the gun laws, because once everybody's packing heat, it's going to make these pigs behave. Because I played this scenario out the other day. Let's just say you get pulled over, you're with 3 friends. The cop comes up to the car, which cops shouldn't be pulling people over unless you're absolutely out of control driving. Like, I'm talking out of control where you're literally driving on sidewalks and people are afraid. Then you should be pulled over, but never. You should never be pulled over by cops unless you literally are creating a hazard and a danger. So anyway, if we all had guns and the cops came up and said, you got guns? I go by he, him. Those are the pronouns that I use. I don't think it's correct to assign pronouns in the way that they're doing. However, I use my pronouns because I hold space for the people who are trans. So if Amish Viking, if you're trans, I support you, man. That's cool. I got no problem with trans people at all. I don't understand why there's so much hatred for trans people. I don't get it. Oh, was my sound gone for a minute there? How long was I gone for? I didn't see it. I didn't see it. How long was my sound gone? Audio gone? How long was the audio gone for? Audit them. What's going on, brother? Audit them. What is going on? Is the sound back? Oh, Todd, I believe it. 20 seconds. Sorry about that. So I was just saying, what I was saying is that if we were all armed, if we got rid of all these bullshit racist gun laws, all gun laws are created based on racism. Every single gun law, if you ever heard of a gun law, you ever think of a gun law, understand they passed it against Indians and blacks. And it started back in the 1600s. You can get the racist origins of gun control laws for free. And there's 2 different PDFs. You can read them. All the gun laws are racist. Every gun law we have is based on racism. I'm sorry, but that's true. I don't care if you don't like it. If you're a boomer and you're white and you're like, well, I didn't do that. I didn't do it either. I'm Colombian and half white, and my family's been here since the very first beginning, since people came over. My family's been here since the beginning. All gun laws are based on racism. I'm sorry if you don't like it. If you're like, oh, everything's racist, he's dividing us by race. We've been divided by race, and they continue to divide us. And now they're dividing us by Republican versus Democrat. Let me show you guys something. They're now dividing us by Republican versus Democrat. Let me show you guys a video that I screen recorded yesterday so you guys can see and hear this. I'm going to airdrop this to myself here. I want you guys to see this video. Oh, goons, if you really want to know about the reason why I say all gun laws are based on racism against Indians and blacks and then Asians and then Mexicans, the reason why I say that is because it's true. You can get on my website on deletelaws.com, and DLZ Clips will throw it down in here. Deletelaws.com. There's 2 different PDFs. The periodicals on my website are totally free. It doesn't cost you anything. You should get the $5 indestructible trifold and have that in your car. Memorize all the cases on there. I have a new one coming out in a couple weeks. Here's the point, though. Here's what I'm trying to say. You go to deletelaws.com and you read the 2 PDFs called The Racist Origins of Gun Control, and it shows you specific laws in which year they were created and how they ban blacks from having guns or Mexicans from having guns or Indians from having guns or all of them, all race gun banned except for whites. And I'm half white and I'm white peering. So I don't hate white people. I love my white half and I love my Colombian half. Not like I sit there and go, oh, you white bastard. And then I'm like, oh, you're so good because you're Colombian. Oh, you white son of a bitch. It's just not true. I don't have any prejudice toward any color of skin. I'm just telling you the facts. Terry versus Ohio is a racist law created for black people. I'm sorry, but this is true. This is true. So I'm giving you guys education. If you choose not to read the literature, if you choose not to research how many laws, you can go on Wikipedia and put in Terry versus Ohio 4th Amendment and see how many cases it spins off into. You can do the same thing with Pearson versus Ray. Qualified immunity doesn't spread. Sorry. So, you know, and the way the history was whitewashed was from a guy named William Archibald Dunnan. I'll put the name in the chat if you want to look up William Archibald Dunnan. There's the name in the chat if you want to look it up. I'm just keeping it real. I'm not going to be fake because people say, "Oh, you know, he says it's race." It's yeah, but the point is they're using it on all of us now. They may have created Terry versus Ohio so they could grab Black Panthers. Specifically, they wanted to grab the Black Panthers when they saw someone on. Just let me give you guys a little history lesson here, because when I get back to the studio, I'm going to give a Black history lesson in the 60s with a bunch of icons. So let me explain it to you. So in the 60s, after 1954, Black we doing now? Can you hear me 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 now? You got me now? Okay. Are we good? Okay. I have no idea. I have no idea why the sound is having such a hard time today. Forgive me. Okay. So tell me. I get it. We can't hear, but watch. Okay. So tell me, it is a mic connection, Thomas. I'll get it fixed. So tell me where I left off. What did you guys hear last? Just tell me what you heard last, because what I'm spouting off right now isn't just what I think or love you too. Thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it. I'm really sorry the sound didn't work. Is my sound still on, or is it going in and out? Okay. You can hear me? Okay. Okay. Black Panther. Okay. So I'm going to keep an eye on the comments here as I talk so that I know if the sound goes out or not. I apologize for the bad sound. So what happened was, in 1954, Brown versus Board of Education legally desegregated America. Now, I know previously, and sometimes I've given talks where I might make an error or something. I'm not making any errors in this. This is 100% factual. I'm going to give you the real history of our country, and this is just a simple fact. So in 1954, Brown versus Board of Education desegregated our country. Previous to 1954, there were laws and black codes. And that's what you'll read in the Racist Origins of Gun Control. That's on the PDFs on my website, Delete Laws. So there was two laws. There was the law for folks, and then there was the black codes for blacks, Indians, and Mexicans. And what that meant was that they had different rules. One of those rules was that if you were black, you weren't allowed to be downtown just hanging out. If you were black, you weren't allowed to go into town after dark. If you were black, you weren't allowed to go in a whites only store unless you were with your owner or your employer. So these are simple facts. Make sure I'm still running. I'm pretty sure. Make sure you guys are up to date. Am I gone again on? Okay, so cool. Thanks. Your confidence is poquito. Make sure you keep me up to date on the microphone. So now what happens is, after they desegregate our country in 1954, the Supreme Court by Earl Warren desegregated our country for a lot of reasons, but it was not to liberate black people. He didn't care about black people. He was a Freemason. He was president of the Freemasons for 5 years. Earl Warren was the devil. He was born the devil. He came out as Satan, and he remained Satan his entire time on earth. So he may have passed the 54 Brown versus Board of Education, but what happened was, then black folks, mostly religious Baptist or Protestants, what they began to do is stress test their rights all around the country. And so they would get on a bus and see if they could go to a whites only bus stop. They would go into a restaurant that said whites only in the window and see if they were allowed to sit down and have dinner or lunch or breakfast. This happened all over our country. And this didn't happen one time. This happened hundreds of times. And so you began to have these conflicts between racist whites, because most people are not racist. Most people do not hold racism for people because they have slanted eyes, or because they have dark skin, or because their hair is curly, or because they're brown like me. Most people in our country are not racist. However, there is a lot of people who are racist. And so what they did is they started to have these conflicts with blacks in places where it could escalate. And so what the government did is they passed Terry versus Ohio because of the Black Panthers. So in the 60s, before Martin Luther King is going to be assassinated, before Malcolm X, I think Malcolm X is going to die in 63. Martin Luther King Jr. is going to die in 68. So through the early 60s, you had the Black Panther movement, which you had a right to have guns. You had a right to have guns until the 1968 Omnibus Crime Bill. And in the 1968 Omnibus Crime Bill, you had gun control in it that limited your right to have a concealed gun or to open carry a gun. So then they passed the 1968 case of Terry versus Ohio. So the case of Terry versus Ohio passed June 10th of 1968. The Omnibus Crime Bill passed in October of 1968. So Terry versus Ohio makes it so that cops can run up to you and pat you down to make sure you don't have a weapon in the name of officer safety. Well, the 1968 Omnibus Crime Bill with gun control legislation in it made it so that you couldn't carry a gun unless you had a license to carry a gun. You may be familiar with the 2022 case of New York Gun and Pistol versus Bruin, where they overturned that you had to have a license to have a gun. So, but that wasn't going on in 68. They passed Terry versus Ohio so that cops could run up to Black Panthers, people who they identified as Black Panthers, and grab them and put them in torture cuffs. And then they criminalized having a gun with the 1968 Omnibus Crime Bill. Now, if you studied the prison population, as I did, in such great detail, you will see that from the 1968 Omnibus Crime Bill that criminalized you having a gun, plus Terry versus Ohio, the Black population of prison skyrocketed. They weren't Terry stopping white people and patting them down to see if they had a gun. They were doing that to Black people. The amount of Blacks charged with concealed carry or open carry from 1968 till 1974 is staggering. Staggering how many people went to prison for that. So I've dedicated myself to learning all of these things so I could come out and tell you so that 50% of people would say, he's full of shit. I'm not going to listen to him. He knows more than me, and he's a strong man. 50% of people will not listen to me. And this is just the studies I've been doing for the past few months on why people change. And the reason why people change is because it's their idea. They're a part of implementing that change. It's gotten so bad that they have to change. There's several reasons why. So 50% of people will listen to the knowledge I just gave, and 50% of people will not, because of the cult of personality that I am. And so I'm giving you the knowledge. You're welcome to disseminate it or share it however you'd like, but I'm telling you exactly how we got to this place. And so what is the crux of all evil? Terry versus Ohio. If cops can't run up and grab me, then they're not going to find the joint that they planted. They're not going to find the gun that they planted. They're not going to find something, a pill in my pocket that they say, oh, this pill doesn't meet the big pharma's label. And so they can't just arrest me for no reason. Thanks, Dan. I appreciate the support. That's right. That's right. So Todd just said it. Todd Norton just said it. Let me extrapolate on what Todd said. So if you want to see the, and let me just pull this up for you guys real fast. Let me show you guys something that you guys should absolutely see. And when you see it, you're going to go, oh, okay. So let's take a good look at it. And I'll show, if I can speak properly here. Okay. So let's take a look at this. Let me zoom in real tight for you guys so you guys can see how much time I've spent. And by the way, what I'm showing you is 100% accurate. It took me 6 months to get this exactly accurate. It took me so long. It took so long. So let me show you guys something. Okay. So let me go and take a look at this, and I'm going to show you guys the exact prison chart where, so take a look right here. So this is, right here is Nixon 71. So here we are here. Okay. So right here is 1968. You see this line right here? You guys see that? There's 68, Terry versus Ohio. I'm going to be doing a Black History Month special. I'm going to cover all these different people. But take a look at 1968 right here. Here's Terry versus Ohio. It's a little off, but it should be right about here. Because right after Terry versus Ohio, we begin to have this mass incarceration system. So 68, Terry versus Ohio passes, and then the Omnibus Crime Bill. I'm pretty sure that I have it on here. I'm pretty sure that I do. So here's Terry versus Ohio, Pennsylvania versus Mims, goes off of that, South Dakota versus Opperman. Cortez versus United States is an extension of Terry versus Ohio. Illinois versus Gates is an extension of Terry versus Ohio. Sitz versus Michigan State Police is an extension of Terry versus Ohio. Wren versus United States is an extension of Terry versus Ohio. Tennessee versus Garner is an extension of Terry versus Ohio. Wilson versus Arkansas is an extension of Terry versus Ohio. Florida versus Harris, drug dogs, dog barking is probable cause is an extension of Terry versus Ohio. Arizona versus Johnson is an extension of Terry versus Ohio. And then House versus HOTUS. I'm going to go into that, but I don't want to talk about that right now. So these are the cases that just are on this map. So now right here, you got 68, you got the Terry versus Ohio, and then you have the omnibus crime bill, and then you got 1971, the war on drugs, and then Reagan comes in 80 and creates a for-profit prison system, and look at this, and then you get Bill Clinton who comes in 1992, and he creates the for-profit prison system. Whoop, look at that, look at that. And this is Joe Biden and Bill Clinton right here. And then you have Reagan and Nixon down here. So I'm just telling you. And so now we're at 2 million people plus in prison, plus 2 million people plus. And that's where we are. And you wonder why I'm constantly railing about Terry versus Ohio. Oh, thank you, Thomas. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for the kind words. I really appreciate that. It means a lot. So if you just take your time and you study it, what's going on, Eric Trillo? How you doing, buddy? So if you just take your time and let me take that off so you guys can see the map. I'm sorry. So now you guys can see the graphic again. Sorry about that. Let me zoom back in. I want to show you guys a little bit more. So if you take a look at the 94 crime bill, that's where you get the real spike really quickly, because after Bill Clinton signed the crime bill that was written by Joe Biden, that's what made it so you had mandatory minimums right here, and judges no longer had discretion over sentencing. It got rid of discretion in sentencing, and Joe Biden pitched that anybody who goes to jail should serve 85% or 100% of their time in prison. And that was all Joe Biden, just so you know. And then these two pigs here, you got this guy. This is the guy who no-knock raided me right here. And then this is Branton right here. His name's, what's his name? That damn pig's name. I can't remember the guy who no-knock raided me, his name anymore. Just crazy. Maybe my brain doesn't want to remember it. But those two pigs right there, those two pigs right there. That's those two pigs. Will Bratton is famous for implementing this guy right here on not the guy under 1994, the guy under Mullen. He is Benjamin Bratton, and he implemented so just so you know, stop and frisk is Terry versus Ohio in New York. So if you hear the term stop and frisk is not possible without Terry versus Ohio. If there's no Terry versus Ohio, there's no stop and frisk in New York, because you don't have a right to stop people you're reasonably suspicious of. So that means any black guy or any brown person going into the subway in New York is suspicious because of Terry versus Ohio. They've done lots of studies on this. They literally target people who are minorities. Of course, they target Muslims in great detail, in great excess. And so Terry versus Ohio has created the stop and frisk that they call in New York City. Is that qualified immunity that does that? Does qualified immunity let them stop and frisk you in New York City before you go on the subway? No, that's Terry versus Ohio. I think everybody in New York City would agree that they would rather get rid of Terry versus Ohio versus qualified immunity, because that would end stop and frisk in New York. And just so you know, I've never been stopped and frisked in New York. And if they tried, I would absolutely not let them. No fucking way. You want to take me to jail? Then do it. But you're not grabbing me and stopping me and frisking me. The answer is no. 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 So anyway, listen, I've been on here for almost 2 hours, and believe it or not, I do have a lot of things to do. I got a lot of things I got to do. I'm working on some different stuff, and I'll let you guys know as it starts to come. But, you know, oh, Mikey, he's just talking. I don't know if he's an actual troll or not. Never seen him in here before. No clue. Oh, I think I don't know. I don't know, Mikey. You've been reading the chat more than I have. I don't know. Is this guy a troll? You guys look this guy up, see if he's a troll real quick. And in the meanwhile, we'll just take a little break from the dude. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. I've got about 40 things I have to do today. I have a so anyway, listen, I just wanted to come on here and ramble a little bit about Terry versus Ohio. What's going on, Amish? Yeah, make sure you guys do me a favor. Share the videos, like, subscribe, comment. Make sure if you don't have that indestructible trifold, you have that trifold, and memorize those cases. The poster right here that you guys are looking at, this poster is available on my website. If you don't have the money for it, I'll send it to you digitally. I can't send the hard copy, but I can send it to you digitally if you don't have the money for it. But I would like it if someone learned everything on here. If you learn all these cases, it's going to make you so much more well-versed. If you take the time to learn every case on here, it's going to help you so much. It'll help you so much, especially, I mean, if you learn the history of William Howard Taft and what he did, Frederick Douglass, if you learn his history, it's super, super interesting. Marbury, from Marbury versus Madison, it's super interesting. Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony, you know, and earlier I was talking about feminism, in case you guys didn't know this. These two women, they helped get black men the right to vote, and they both died before they got the right to see women the right to vote. But what they also did is push through prohibition. These two women right here did. And that was when we put women in power in government. Women started to take power. They got the right to vote in 1920. So when women get the right to vote in 1919 with the 20th Amendment, and I think you're going to have the 20th Amendment right up. I don't have the amendments on here. There's the 15th, so I should have the 20th. I think it got covered up by one of these heads. 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment. 20th Amendment should be right around, 20th Amendment would be right around here. Because 1919, women get the right to vote. 1920, prohibition starts. Prohibition starts, and then what happens to the prison system from prohibition? We go from 40,000 people in prison to just over 200,000 people in prison in just 13 years. 5 times the prison industry. And Woodrow Wilson, as much crap as he gets, he actually vetoed the Volstead Act. The Volstead Act of 1919 was the precursor for the 18th Amendment, which would prohibit alcohol in America. And he tried. He did his level best to try to, he vetoed it and said it's going to create a prison state. And then after he got out of office, he watched the prison state get built 5 times, 5-fold. The exact incarceration nation we have today is based on prohibition. So then, of course, Harry Anslinger, he was witnessing all this and saw how this worked for prohibition. So then up here in 1961, he criminalized marijuana at the Single Convention on Narcotic Drugs. People think it's the 19th. How about now? Do I have Can you hear me? Do I have 5x5? 5x5 if you guys can hear me. If not, can you hear me talk? Can you hear me talk? Can you hear me talk? Is there any audio? You can hear now. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I'm so sorry about this. I was just rattling on and on about this poster. I got to look at my phone more. So how much did I lose there? Sorry about that. So let me show you guys this one thing then before, let me show you guys one thing. Okay. So I'm going to show you one thing here. I want to show you guys something super interesting here. I saw this yesterday and I just had to grab it and share it. Make sure you guys can still hear me because apparently you can't hear me anymore. It's driving me absolutely bonkers. I'll open this bad chicken big. There that is. Let me go back here. Let me share this with you guys. I'm going to get rid of this. Trust me. I know it. 2 to 3 minutes and in the stream by ripping that mic in half. Can you guys hear me? Okay. So I want to share with you guys one thing I saw. I wanted to talk about that poster a little bit. Oh, I see. You have to sit still when you speak. 2 or 3 minutes, huh? So that's what I was saying is, so on this poster right here, can you guys hear me okay? So what I was saying here is that when you, now I'm going to keep looking at my phone here and just make sure that delete laws clips. Let me know if I lose the sound. DLZ clips, can you hear that? Can you see that? So I sent you a text, DLZ clips. Let me know if the sound falls off and I'll just keep looking at my phone here. Okay, so I want to show you guys an important process here in the poster and the reason why I created this poster. I created this poster. It's staticky. That's terrible. I'm so sorry. I don't know why this is happening. How about that? Is that any better? Okay. So I'm just going to keep looking at my phone here as I give you guys this little bit of, so there's a few things about this poster that I want you guys to understand. What's up, Rights On? So when you take a look, when I said earlier about Terry versus Ohio being more important than qualified immunity, Terry versus Ohio spins into Pennsylvania versus Mims, where you have to get out of the car for officer safety. South Dakota versus Opperman, where the police can force you to search your car, and that's going to be South Dakota versus Opperman. And then so Terry versus Ohio extends into Pennsylvania versus Mims. It extends into South Dakota versus Opperman. It extends into Illinois versus Gates. Terry versus Ohio extends into Cortez versus the United States. Terry versus Ohio extends into Tennessee versus Garner, into Wilson versus Arkansas. Terry versus Ohio extends into Wren versus the United States. It extends into Florida versus Harris. It extends into the 2000 case of Arizona versus Johnson. So these are all the cases that Terry versus Ohio has an impact on. And so then down here, when you take a look at the prison industry, in 68 right here, Terry versus Ohio is passed. And what happens? The omnibus crime bill, and then the illegalization of drugs, the war on drugs, and then Reagan creates a for-profit prison system that really makes it skyrocket. And then Biden gets together with Clinton and they pass the 1994 crime bill, which then makes our prison system just go up like a rocket ship. So we haven't had any good leadership. And so then when I came back here, I was showing you guys something. So then when you come down here and you look at prohibition, I was showing you guys, did you guys hear me talk about Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton? Did you guys hear me talk about Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton? So these two women right here, they really pushed for something called prohibition. And what I was speaking on earlier before I got cut off on this thing is when you come down here to prohibition and you really take a look at it, this is the modern invention of the modern prison system today. Now, Woodrow Wilson is going to be president at that time, and he's going to veto the 1919 Volstead Act. But then that's going to turn into the 18th Amendment, which he's going to try to veto as well. And it's going to get shut down. He's going to get overridden by 2/3 vote of Congress. But what you see right here in this prison system, that we go fivefold from 1920 to 1933. And a lot of that has to do with because we brought women into government, and women had been abused by men who were drunk for years. And so women pushed hard for prohibition. And the way they did it is they cut off sex. This is not something that you can't look up yourself. Women wanted the right to vote, and they wanted alcohol criminalized. That's what they wanted, and women got it. And it's ruined our country. We created the model penal system based on the prohibition right here. So now, while this prohibition is going on and we're locking up 5 times the amount of people, Harry Anslinger is watching all this happen. He's watching everything happen. And Harry Anslinger is empowered by the people he works with in business, which is oil, it's Lamont DuPont, it's William Randolph Hearst in the newspaper industry. And so, and he's related to, he's the son-in-law or the nephew-in-law of the Secretary of Treasury for FDR. Actually, Andrew Mellon, this guy up here at the top, he had been, okay, he had been the Secretary of the Treasury for 10 or 15 years. And a lot of people thought that Andrew Mellon, because he had invested in William Randolph Hearst and Lamont DuPont, that Andrew Mellon empowered Harry Anslinger to criminalize marijuana by passing the 1937 Marijuana Tax Act right here. Now, the Marijuana Tax Act is important, but it is not as important as the 1961 Single Convention on Narcotic Drugs that was, of course, hosted by Harry Anslinger. Harry Anslinger invited everybody from around the world, the World Health Organization, and everybody else to come to criminalize marijuana. So when the World Health Organization came in 1961 at the Single Convention on Narcotic Drugs, they said that marijuana would turn you into a homicidal axe murderer. And so with the World Health Organization backing up Harry Anslinger's Single Convention on Narcotic Drugs, Kerr versus California was passed. Now, if you guys are unfamiliar with Kerr versus California, it's passed because of the 1961 case of Mapp versus Ohio, just to the left and up. So in 1961, this guy up here named Earl Warren, he passed Mapp versus Ohio as he was the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. And in Mapp versus Ohio, it said that police could not enter into your home without a warrant and probable cause to raid your home. Well, that made the cops all mad, and they went up and down the highway and said, let's impeach Earl Warren. So then in 1963, in Kerr versus California, they made it so that cops only needed to knock and announce their presence to enter into your home. Common law from the King's era, 1300s. And so Kerr versus California pretty much wipes out Mapp versus Ohio if the cops just say they knocked first. And so the criminalization of marijuana is going to mimic the criminalization of alcohol, but the difference is it's going to go like that. Okay. Anyway, I wanted to spend some time. Yeah, I don't want that. Thanks. Anyway, all right. I'm going to get the flock out of here. Yeah, I'm going to get the flock out of here. I've been here forever. Sorry about the volume not working. I'll get this thing fixed. And the 19. Anyway, I'm going to get the flock out of here. I'll see you guys on the next one. Later, Gators.